channel. Thank you so much for joining me. So this is gonna be the last time you guys see the 2022 Vitpilen 401 in this state. What we're gonna do today is we're gonna be taking off all the aftermarket parts, going completely back to stock. Reason for that is this bike has been for sale for quite some time now, probably about a month and a half. Gotten some inquiries, gotten some calls and stuff, but obviously the bike's still here. And I think a lot of that reason is because I was asking a lot just because of the modifications that were included. Of course, I know modifications don't necessarily add to the value of a motorcycle. I get that. But just to keep things easy, I was trying to sell it as is so I don't have to take it all apart. Didn't work out. So what we're going to do, take everything off this bike and I'm going to sell it stock, just for kind of whatever amount. Bike's immaculate and everything, so I shouldn't have any issue selling it in stock form, and I'll sell the aftermarket parts separate. Obviously, I want to try to get out as much money as I can from this investment. So yeah, so just really curious to see how heavy this bike is. So when we remove all these parts today, I'm going to go ahead and weigh everything, and Husqvarna says that these bikes are 340 pounds wet. So after we get everything weighed, all the aftermarket parts weighed compared to the stock part, for example, we're going to find out what the stock header with the cat weighs as opposed to the catless version and so forth. Then we can get somewhat of a number to see where exactly we are as far as weight. When I move this bike around, it feels really, really light. So I've moved around some R3s and Ninja 400s. I've kind of sat on them and kind of moved them around to just see how they feel. This feels way lighter than either of those bikes. So I'm really curious to see where we're at. Again, this is assuming Husqvarna's number is correct, the 340 pounds, but at least by the end of this video, we'll know how much weight we've taken off, and depending on if Husqvarna's curb wet weight number is correct, we'll know where we are. So anyways, guys, let's go ahead and take a look. Let's get it going. For those who are new to the channel, this is a 2022 Vitpilen 401. I bought this bike brand new, fresh out of the crate. Now it's got 5,000 miles. I've had it for 2 years. Of course, it's been extensively modified. I don't want to spend too much time on going over the modifications. We'll just do a quick overview. It's got the OEM plus levers, OEM plus master cylinder cover, OEM plus wheel decals, Kuber catless header, custom muffler delete, Taiga rear sets, Taiga carbon fiber, OEM plus ergo seat. Again, more carbon fiber from Taiga. Has a Formula 390 16.2 sprocket. Bar end mirrors. It's got the OEM LED turn signals, basically from every other market other than the US. So it's got a Fuel X light on it. Got a ton of modifications. Probably a few things I'm forgetting, but as you guys can see, far from stock. So I'm interested to see how much weight we've saved by going to all these aftermarket modifications compared to the stock parts. I already got some of the easy stuff torn apart on this bike, so let's kind of see what we have for weights. We have the stock airbox lid. This feels pretty light. 3.4 ounces. Let's see what the DNA lid weighs. We're looking at 4.1. This is another one I was interested in. I wanted to see how heavy this Fuel X light was. Let's see. All right, so that's 7 ounces there, and of course that's an addition. We didn't replace them with anything. All right, there we go. Got the Kuber header off. It's one of my more favorite pieces for this bike. It's done really, really nicely, and this in conjunction with the Fuel X light, could definitely tell there was a performance increase by going to this setup. So see how much it weighs. So many parts that need to go back on. There's that Kuber header on the scale. 2 pounds, 13 ounces. You guys can see it's not touching anything, so that is the real weight. 2 pounds, 13 ounces. Let's see what the stock one weighs. All right, pretty big weight savings on that one. Stock one is 5 pounds, 8.4 ounces. You guys can see it's completely on the scale. Something else I wanted to show you guys is this stock manifold. Look how small that opening is. And it's also very, very rough in here. So this looks like it's a weld, and it's You can see it's kind of oblong shaped. It's not really round. And look how small the opening is compared to the Cooper, right? The Cooper, it's nice and smooth. Opening's a lot larger. Also, wanted to mention this. Okay, so this is actually catalytic converter material in here. So for those that kept saying the resonator, meaning this black box right here is a cat. It's not. That's just a resonator. The cat is this and this section here. Also, to whoever buys this bike, I'm putting all new gaskets in as well. So no worries there. You're not going to have any exhaust leaks. I'm putting all new gaskets. I wanted to do a close-up of these Taiga carbon fiber pieces because I get a lot of questions about these pieces. You can see here the weave is pretty good. The gloss is nice, especially for the price. These parts are not expensive. So the actual finish is pretty nice on these. A quick bit of information too, these Taiga decals, they actually don't come installed. You have to put these on yourself. So kind of weird, but not that big of a deal. I do want to bring attention to the actual, not the finish, but the quality of the part. So if you look here, see how the hugger itself is a separate piece from this sleeve? Not a big deal. The cylinder is a separate piece. Not a big deal at all. But if you look at how it's fused together, it almost looks like it has a big crack all the way around. And this side is the same as well. So it was always like this, but it looks like it has like a big crack all the way around that piece. So that's not the greatest. They use a bit of foam here to kind of dampen the vibration. It's not very good foam. As you can see here, from after about 1.5 years, this foam is hard as a rock. The sprocket cover issue that I had is, see these aluminum sleeves here? Very common for carbon parts. Basically what it is so when you tighten these fasteners down, it doesn't crush the carbon piece. So the sleeve is supposed to be wider than the actual piece of carbon. Well, on this sleeve, it's not. The sleeve is too short. It's not wide enough. So if you look close, you can see there's a crack in the carbon fiber. So the sole job of this sleeve was to keep that from happening. And as you can see, it's got a big crack. Not the absolute end of the world. You can't really see it, but you can't, especially with the fastener there, you can't really see it, but again, it's one of those things. It's you kind of get what you pay for with these, but not the worst quality, but could be better. Despite some of the quality issues with these parts, they are pretty light, so they're not like the really cheap carbon parts that have fiberglass on the backside and stuff like that. There is a weight saving. So if you look at this rear hugger, 5.5 ounces for the stock one, and the carbon one, 3 ounces. Okay, so quite a weight savings there. It's almost half the weight. Plastic sprocket cover, let me get that on the scale. Okay, 4.8 ounces. And the carbon one, this is much lighter, 2.9, right? So they are much lighter than stock. Thought you guys might find this interesting too. So the kind of OEM Plus reservoir cover, let me turn this over. This is the stock one, just the like Bibri cover. And then this is the really nice OEM Plus Husqvarna one. Something that I thought was real interesting is the OEM Plus version. See this fencing around, see this kind of insert here? It's plastic on the Bibri one, and then the OEM Plus Husqvarna one, it's metal. This is actually a really nice piece that that Husqvarna has. And this insert here for the stock one, it comes right out. It's just a piece of plastic. And you can see it's just all cast. It's a small thing, but this was probably one of the more impressive parts I bought from Husqvarna. This is really a nice piece. We're making a lot of progress here. It's been a few hours, but I'm getting a lot of the aftermarket parts off, getting a lot of the stock parts back on, getting everything weighed. I'm recording everything to give you guys that data point, and I'll show you guys the chart that I'm using to make it a little bit easier to follow what all the weights are. Here's that chart. As you could see, we got our parts here, and then the corresponding stock weight, aftermarket weight. Of course, we're not done. We're kind of halfway through, but this is how I'm going to record everything. At the end, we'll add everything up and see what the net weight savings are. Another part I want to highlight that I was really impressed with is the Formula 390 16-tooth front sprocket. This sprocket is it's hardened chromoly. It's not case hardened. The whole thing is chromoly. So you can see here how much larger it is than the 15-tooth sprocket. The stock sprocket is this black one on the top. Underneath is the Formula 390. And you can see how I've lined this up here. So you can see how much larger that 16-tooth sprocket is. Look how much thicker all the teeth are. Okay, but watch this. Okay, we have our Formula 390 16-tooth sprocket. Let's do this. Zero it out. 7.2 pounds. Sorry, 7.2 ounces. And let's see how much this stock 15-tooth sprocket weighs. 7.2 ounces as well. So it weighs the same exact weight as the stock 15-tooth sprocket, despite being much larger and with much thicker teeth. Changing the turn signals on this bike is just a total pain. You gotta remove the headlight, the display, the bracket. You gotta unplug all this stuff, but I'm reminded of how ugly the stock turn signals are. I mean, that's about the worst turn signal I've ever seen compared to the European and Asian markets, which have these nice LEDs. It's definitely a pain to change these turn signals, but look at how ugly the stock signal is. The stock is very long compared to the LEDs for the rest of the world. And it's got this super big light with the halogen bulb in there. I mean, look how ugly that is. I kind of forgot how ugly they were until I saw them again next to the new units. It'll be sad to see these go. These are one of my other favorite modifications that I did on this bike. I will miss these a lot. Total pain to put them in, but sure made a big difference in the aesthetic as well as the riding experience. It took a few hours, but I did get the rear sets back on. Look at the difference. Look how ugly these stock rear sets are. I hate these so much, and they're super heavy. Without the passenger foot pegs, just the rear sets are over 6 pounds, the stock ones, and the Tiger rear sets are a little over 3 pounds. So look at that compared to that. Big difference. Gives us a little bit of contrast as well. We get that kind of brushed aluminum and carbon fiber look as opposed to just all black with these funky like mountain bike pegs on it. Okay, that was quite a process to get all those stock parts back on. It's all back together. The only stock parts I did not reinstall were the mirrors and the skid plate. Everything else is 100% stock. I weighed everything. I put it in that chart that I showed you earlier. And I think you guys would be surprised how much weight we lost with the modifications that were done to this bike. Remember, although there were a lot of modifications performed on this Vitpilen 401, it still had all the lights, it still had all the fairings, like it still even had the resonator box. So a lot of weight was taken off without sacrificing a lot, right? You see some full race bikes, they have no lights, they have no seat sometimes. They're basically a frame with a motor and that's it. So in this case, that wasn't so. So for these bikes to already be as light as they are, for it to be as easy to take off that much weight with those few modifications is pretty impressive. So let's go ahead and take a look. Just as an example, look at this skid plate. Okay, so these come on the Vitpilens and Svartpilens. On a Svart, I kind of see why you may need it, but on a Vit, you don't need this thing. And just the skid plate alone, look at how heavy it is. It's over 3 pounds, right? So that shows you just how easy it is to take weight off this bike. Same goes for the passenger foot pegs, this huge license plate bracket. I mean, it's very easy to take weight off of these, right? Even this chain guard, you don't necessarily need it. I had a carbon one, but you don't even really need that. I see a lot of Duke 390 guys not even have a chain guard, but yeah, I mean, this grab handle, same thing. I mean, you do not need this. And I think if I remember right, I have to look at my chart, but this thing was a couple pounds too. So just right there, super easy to take weight off these bikes, but now that it's back to stock, I'm reminded of how ugly these are when they come from the factory. Of course, this is without the mirrors. With the mirrors on it, they're even uglier, but I kind of forgot what these really look like stock. Moment of truth, let's take a look at our chart. Again, we have our part here in this column, and then we have our corresponding stock weight compared to the aftermarket weight. So for example, our air filter lid, stock one's 3.4 ounces, that aftermarket DNA lid, 4.1 ounces. And if you look here, of course, we have things like the fuel controller, which is zeroed out for stock because we added it, right? We added that 7 ounces to the bike. But we come all the way down, the total for all these items, 44 pounds, 9 ounces. Total for all these aftermarket items, 14 pounds, 10 ounces. So that's 1 ounce shy of 30 pounds of weight loss. And if you look, some of these stock items, look how heavy they are. 88 ounces for the exhaust manifold, the muffler, 72 ounces, 48 ounces for the skid plate, rear passenger pegs, 40 ounces, the rear sets, 99 ounces, the pre-muffler resonator, that black box, 122 ounces. So you see how heavy some of these stock parts are. And a lot of these parts, you can just take them off, right? The rear grab bar, the rear passenger pegs, and so forth. The muffler even. You can just do a muffler delete like what I did, and you're losing all that weight there. So as you can see here, very easy to take 30 pounds off the bike without really sacrificing anything. Of course, you're going to have some noise from having that muffler deleted and stuff like that. But I mean, 400C or 373cc single cylinder, it's not going to be very loud anyway. Now let's check out this next section here. We see front brake disc, rear brake disc, etc. These are modifications I did not do to this bike. However, my buddy Whiskey Echo Moto on Instagram provided me with these data points. If you haven't checked out his page yet, check it out. He's got a lot of good information on that page, has a lot of cool stuff on that page. He provided me with these weights here, and if you look, front brake disc, 60 ounces, and this is for a Galfer front brake rotor, common. You can actually get it through Husqvarna or KTM, and you can see here over a pound of weight savings just there. But the big one, by going to an anti-gravity battery, look how much weight you're losing. Almost 100 ounces of weight. Okay, so if you look here, right, you're getting the chain, you're getting a little bit, of course that's unsprung, it's rotational and all the other stuff, but let's not add complication to the equation, right? But look how much weight you can get from the rear sprocket, right? Going to a super light sprocket, you're losing a pound of weight there, right? The battery, look how much you're losing there. The front brake disc, over a pound, right? So these items, 19 pounds, 14 ounces. The aftermarket equivalent, 10 pounds, 9.2 ounces. So you've got over 9 pounds in weight savings just from these items here, right? And if we do all these modifications together, right, all this stuff together, this would be your total weight loss, right? So 64 pounds, 7 ounces is the grand total for all the items. In this column here, grand total, 25 pounds, 3 ounces. So you can lose almost 40 pounds from one of these bikes, which would, if Husqvarna's curb weight number is correct, you'd be at 300 pounds or just under. So think about that, you guys. You can take 40 pounds off one of these bikes. You can be under 300 pounds from one of these bikes and not have to cut the bike up. Everything that you would do to it, completely reversible. So, I mean, going to a lightweight battery, deleting the resonator, stuff like that, going to the Tiger rear sets. I mean, none of that stuff is irreversible, right? So think about that. You can have a bike that's under 300 pounds, still has all the lights, still has the horn, still has a normal seat, still has a display. Everything is still there, which is pretty impressive. And now that I have this bike all back together, even without the skid plate and the mirror, so it's not completely full weight, I can tell right away that this bike is heavier than it was with the modifications. Just moving it around, I can tell right away that there is a lot of extra weight there. So I can imagine if I did go with the lightweight battery, if I did go with the lightweight front brake rotor and stuff like that, it would be even more of a pronounced difference. Going back to our chart, it really shows you that things do add up. When you start talking about ounces, half a pound here, a pound here, 2 pounds there, it starts adding up pretty quick. Even owning this bike, I knew that it was light just because when I move it around, I mean, it felt like nothing. But even for me, I didn't think that it had dropped that much weight, that it had dropped 30 pounds on an already light bike. 30 pounds on any motorcycle is already a lot. That's a ton of weight. But on a bike that's already this light, it's even more pronounced. Okay guys, hope you found that helpful. That's the recipe to take 40 pounds off your 2022 Vitpilen 401. So I hope this information could be useful to you. I hope you guys pursue taking weight off your bike, because it is a very good feeling to have a motorbike that basically feels like a bicycle when you move it around and manipulate it. It's an awesome feeling, and you could do it with one of these, like I said earlier, without sacrificing a lot. You're gonna sacrifice a little bit by taking the catalytic converter off and stuff like that, but again, all the lights are there, the display's there, the seat's still there, it still has the horn, it still has a normal size radiator, it still has all the normal size reservoirs, so it's very, very doable. There's no carbon wheels, or you're not changing the subframe or anything like that. It's all just simple things you could do to one of these bikes and get them very, very light. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Appreciate that very much. As always, if you can, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Way more content on the way. See you guys next time.